my mom came to my dad. She was in love with another man. He was supposed to be one of my dad's best friends.
Once your dad left and you graduated, picked your grades up, what did you do?
This guy, he lived in the next subdivision over, and he said, "How would you like to go hunting with me one weekend, Charles?" I said, "I ain't doing that, might as well." So after getting in the house, I'm scanning campus in the living room, and I saw all 4 of these sisters up on the mantelpiece.
Okay.
I zeroed in them all. I said, "Where's Evan at?" My mother said, "I tell you what, dear friends, if you don't marry him, I'm going to marry him." She said, "No, you're not going to get my man."
What was Pastor Dow like as a child growing up?
Outstanding young man. But one thing about him really stood out to me because I always noticed it. He always had a Bible with him. He was standing right there on the patio. He just looked me straight in the eye. He said, "Daddy," I said, "Yeah, you are going to hell." I said, Whoa, why do you tell me something like that? If I said, "That is not my destination." He said, "If you don't change your way, you really," and started serving the Almighty, you really, that's exactly where you're headed. I looked at my wife, she said, "We better get busy."
Everybody's inquiring, how did Straitway come about? How did we get to this point? And they can tell in the sense that it's like something is catching fire. It's growing because they can see the happiness, they can see the joy, they see the peace that is being obtained. They can see we're very serious about this walk.
Teacher Shane, thank you so much for coming on the show and doing the show with us. If you could you just give us a flyby of your life before your Berean Moment?
I basically lived a normal life as a dysfunctional family member. The family was very fractured, which led me in, to do my own thing, pretty much going my own way, because my parents, they pretty much died when I was very young, so it forced me into life very early. So
what did he die of?
My mother died. She died at age 42, I guess, from all the alcoholism and the smoking. So that pretty much took her out. And then my dad died a few years later of pneumonia.
And how old were you?
When my mom died, I was 18.
Okay.
And when I was about 21, 22, my dad passed away.
Okay.
And I was already out pretty much in a homeless estate for a little while. Then I was able to live with some Laotians, Thai people, for a year or two, and that went well. And during all that time was doing heavy metal music, professional musician, going out and doing venues, clubs, National Guard armories, boozing it up, living the life of, just a heathen. A man with no purpose, a man with no care, man with no hope, no direction in life, because all my rearing as a child had no direction from father, hardly any direction from mother. So I entered into life with no map or nothing. Just thrust out into life with, what do I do? Where do I go?
So how did you, so eventually you got married, during that time. How did you meet your first wife?
I met my first wife through actually living with one of the Laotians, of which at the time was in a band called All Storm.
Okay.
It was half American and half Laotian. And we was doing the National Guard armories. We was playing Laotian music, and we was playing American music, American metal and rock and stuff like that. And the guitar player his wife was sister to my first wife.
Okay. How many years you were married, and how many children you had with that first wife?
I think we were married almost 10 years.
Okay.
And 3 children came out of that marriage.
Okay. So when did you, so about this time, you've had, been married for 10 years and, married, had 3 children. When did this is right before your Berean Moment, but what happened that woke you up to the truth?
What woke me up to the truth was during the time of, I guess, having many gods. I had a lot of gods. Music was my god. Collected comic memorabilia was my god. Just a lot of things. I was an audiophile, acting, loved boozing, loved doing drugs and everything. Lived in a trailer park. Lived in a trailer. I think, come to think of it, that was our second fire that we went through in the first marriage. That second fire burned me out of everything that I owned, everything that I trusted in, everything that I had hope in, everything that I thought had value in my life. I sit there and looked at it and just saw nothing but ashes. And here, it's just like at that moment you see everything come clear. It's just like all of a sudden scales or just something just clicks in you. And then you start understanding this something awoke in me, letting me know that this was not your life. You don't need to continue in this pattern no more. Because during all that time of living in that trailer park, we was allowing our daughter to go to a Pentecostal church. And they was going to go with vacation Bible school during the time. They would come pick her up in the van, take her, and then have the little lessons and bring her back. And right after the fire, we was pretty much homeless. We went to the Pentecostal church and started listening. And at that time, I started hearing the word differently, like I'd never had before in my whole life. It made sense.
Did you grow up in the church even leading up to this point? Did you have any influence?
I did, on and off. I remember as a young child, my parents going to certain churches, it's just vaguely, I remember at age 2 or 3, been given a little bitty red New Testament, and I kept that so many years and lost it. And I was baptized when I was preteen at a Presbyterian church. Got sprinkled and everything. And it's amazing during this, as I reflect now with the mind that I have now from then, I remember, I guess, certain sections in my life, the Most High was actually showing himself, but I was not really recognizing him. And even while I was yet in my boozing and carousing and drugging, still in the back of my being, I know I was doing wrong. There was something always checking me, and I was suppressing and pushing it back. And I would go for more drugs, for more alcohol, because this thing was pushing. So I just tried to suppress it with anything I can. And the cares of life, and the hurt from, family being dysfunctional and all this stuff just weighing down, through to just piling up through time. And I'm here running and escaping from it. And it brought it up to the point where that fire burned me out of everything. And I guess at that time I could see time just stand still. And it's like stuff this all of a sudden just went 360, everything become in living color. And I'm asking myself, what are you doing? What are you living? What is your purpose? And all that was going on in my mind, so I was propelled within myself, all right, go to church and go this direction to try to seek answers. Because before, I was supposedly a Baha'i. My first wife, we was in the Baha'i faith. And even there, there was, while I was doing all my sinning and everything, there was still something not right with it. No answers there.
What's a Baha'i faith?
It's,
Is
faith.
it part of Christianity?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's an Eastern religion dealing with a prophet in the 1800s, Abdul-Bahala, that supposedly was the last manifestation of God himself on this earth. And so there's a religion after that. No, but that's all chalked up in all that gray area of my life.
So you was part of the Baha, you was practicing the Baha faith, but your daughter was going to a Pentecostal.
Yeah, that was later on, yeah.
Okay.
Because when I married my first wife, she was a Baha'i already.
Okay.
And she told me about the Baha'i faith, and so still being a heathen and everything. Okay, let's go check this out. Let's see what this is. And I was, oh, that's pretty cool, you know. So I went along with it. But still, that wasn't.
It wasn't did it.
It wasn't it.
So your daughter. So you guys ended up going to the church that your daughter was going to after the fire. Is that the same church and everything? So you say that the word started becoming more clear, like clearer than you've ever heard it before. And that's why,
there was. It just something awakened in me, and going there, and then hearing the word, and then having a hunger to read the word.
Okay.
I never before in my life had a hunger and an interest to read that Bible. So while I was going there, going there during process of time, I would sit on the porch in the evenings after work, open the Bible in a steel rocking chair out, in public, and rock back and forth and read and read and read and read and read. And as more as I read, the more I started understanding. And it wasn't not too long after that, a member of the Pentecostal church asked me to go to halfway houses with him. So I was 3 to 4 months in, going to this Pentecostal church. Here I am with this guy ministering. I'm not knowing, fresh in the word, I'm still learning, still on the porch in the evenings, rocking back and forth, reading the Word of Yah, and then going here and hearing the testimony of these men that have went through alcoholism and drugs, and this house is there to try to help them, and I'm here helping minister with this one fellow. He's doing a music ministry, and I was playing the keyboards for him at times, and he would minister the words, and then do prayer and whatever was needed from the men that would attain the meeting or be at the meeting.
So you go into all these halfway houses with this man, fresh and everything. So how long did you do that for?
I did that for about 6 months.
What happened after that? After the 6 months period, what happened?
Well, as more as I read, I'm sitting there reading, the Bible on the porch in the steel chair. Rocking chair, the old type rocking chair. That one day it broke, fell out from under me.
The chair.
The chair. And then that was a unique moment in my walk too, because after that I would still read, and then I was going to the Pentecostal church, and then I started questioning things within that church. I read this, and then I'd see this. And then I asked certain members, why is this going on? And then it says here and here that this don't need to be going on, and this is not right. And the member would tell me, just put blinders on.
Wow. They told you to put blinders on.
Put blinders on.
Wow.
And I'm sitting back going, I'm here, fresh in the word, And I'm hungry for the word, and I'm not at that time, I'm not only going to Pentecostal church, I'm going to deliverance assemblies. I'm going to Baptist assemblies, going to Church of Christ assemblies, because I want to know this God that's woke me up. I want to know Him. I want to really know Him. And I find myself, I need to experience this God. I need to experience the one that created everything. And I was so hungry, yet I don't know, it was just weird. It was my not knowing, being in ignorance. I found myself laying on the floor, laughing hysterically for 30 minutes to an hour, thinking that this was an experience of Elohim, because I listened to the minister, and he'd minister and say, this is getting ready to happen, that's getting ready to happen, and you may laugh and all that. And I thought, okay, I'm getting ready to experience the Most High. So I would push myself into that, thinking that I'm going to experience the Most High. And then later on, as time went on, reading the Word, the Holy Spirit in me confirming the Word, I found out that was a lie. But that still didn't stop me. I still had a hunger for the Most High. And it's an amazing thing. Even during that time, I had a band member. During all this, from before to now, a former band member that was a singer of a band called Conceited. And he had went home it was late night, it was kind of early morning, to where he lived in an apartment complex, and he come upon a preacher, come upon somebody ministering the word out in the wee hours of the morning to drug dealers. And he recognized them, and hey, I used to go to school with him. So they got together and started talking, and they started having little Bible studies and whatsoever, and then I got invited to a Bible study. And it was over at Papa Dow's house, over in Madison. And, my heart struggle and everything at that time, I was wanting the Most High Yah, wanting to really understand Him. I had a witness to, hey, go ahead and go to this, because I was going to everything else. I say, why not this? So we went there, opened the Word, pastor started ministering, and I found out who Elohim was. Found out about clean and unclean foods. It was a lot of truth that in that little bit of time that pastor was just bringing forth simple truth. And as I was hearing it, something was going on in me. This is right. This is right. This is right. This is right. And I left that Bible study so elated, so fulfilled, so enriched, that I went back to that Pentecostal church and told that pastor there, says, I'm not going to be here no longer. I've got a witness in me myself. I'm going to help this man go do a work. And that's when I started. I dropped everything and went with the pastor.
So when you, I heard that you made a vow to pastor, and I don't know if this is the time you made the vow, but what vow did you make to Pastor Charles Dow?
The same witness that I had myself, that at that Bible study, that little simple Bible study that we had, it's something that it's hard to explain when you get a witness or a knowing within yourself that this is the way, this is truth. For me to actually hear the word of Yah and actually have my understanding opened to that magnitude, to have understanding of life really in me, just overflowing. Never had the word, taught to me in such a manner and expressing to me in such a manner where I could actually see it clearly and understand it clearly. And it was a beautiful moment for me. And that's really started a unique walk. Just hearing the voice of the Most High Yah. I didn't know I was hearing the voice of the Most High Yah, but I was being led of the Most High Yah. When I told that Pentecostal preacher, I'm going to help that man do a work, and I told pastor what went on, and that was pretty much the vow there, to help him do a work. And from that time on,
You've been there since.
Been doing it.
So at this time, you're married. Are you still married with your wife, your first wife of 3 children? So what is she with you during this time? Is she going on this journey with you? Okay.
She's going along with it, but hesitantly. There were certain aspects of it because she already still had that Baha'i mind type of, that faith instilled in her from many years. And I know she noticed a change in me. And through process of time and learning what the Sabbath day was and wanting to honor the Most High the more, I had one of my children was having a birthday on the Shabbat. And I established with myself, I'm going to honor the Most High before I'm going to honor this birthday. So I honored the Shabbat and went to Shabbat service. Then when I come home from Shabbat service, they had departed. And it was a matter of maybe a year later, I found out where they finally ended up at. Because I started calling certain family members and trying to find out what was going on, and they would not tell me nothing. Because I guess through her mouth, she pretty much had showed her side of the story, and that being her side of the family, they're going to take her word.
I can relate.
Yeah, and that was the image they saw in me.
So after she left, you continue in this truth. So you guys eventually, the marriage got dissolved, right? I mean,
Yes, through time, yeah.
So you eventually, now did you, I'm trying to see what year, so when did you move on community, or I know you was there when Pastor Dow was preaching out of Daddy Dow's house, is it, or Gainesville? Was he?
Well, it was in
somewhere?
Madison when I, through time, it was in Madison that we would turn a little sofa chair around and use it as a pulpit. And it would just be me, Sister Carol, and the two children. And that'd be service most of the time,
Right there. So he literally turned the couch into
the
a pulpit right there.
Little lazy boy chair, yeah.
So you seen Pastor Dow just in the raw before the whole,
I knew him when he was a manager at a Revco store.
Wow, that's amazing. So after that, so when did this whole idea come about? So you was there before community. I mean, was he already talking about community, or was it during that time that the community mindset was birthed? Was you there during those times when he was talking about that? And how did
that come upon him. He actually heard a man on shortwave radio called Ralph Stair, who had already established pretty much the Acts type of model. And so there was a time we fellowshipped with that, and we got to get an understanding of moving that direction from that model. And through time, we moved in that direction of building it here. And once we started establishing a model here, then Ralph Stair got into certain practices that were quite sinful. So we kind of had to depart ways.
Okay. Were you guys connected? Were you guys fellowshipping together? Like, were you guys one assembly and then you broke off, or was you just assembly, just kind of?
We was, part of that ministry for
that period of time.
to the amount of time that was needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys eventually broke away, started your own community, right?
The community was pretty much in itself getting grounded, being built, during that time.
How many people's at this time in the beginning? Was it just still you, the two children, Mother Carol? Or is there more people coming during this time? Or?
Well, we moved from pastor's apartment there in Madison, and we was able to share at a place on down close to Lakewood. I think it was a Pentecostal church. And then more people started being added to us. And then we would gather there and have service until one time we had a minister that was joined to us. I guess he preached a little bit too long. And so we got kicked out of that church.
Okay.
And then through time, I'm trying to remember all this, is a lot. Yeah. There was a man named Rice, Pastor Rice. We've come into fellowship and, friendship with him, and was actually able to convert his basement into an assembly. And we would gather there. And through time, people started gathering from pastor's side of the family, cousins, whatever, and whoever, heard through, Ralph Stair. And that started building it from that point there.
So how many people actually came and started doing community with you guys in that early stage? Then
I'd say just roughly, maybe close to around 30 or 40 of us.
Okay,
yeah.
Started. Okay, so you guys now, doing community. How was that first year of? I mean, I'm assuming those people was excited. You know, this is the thing. Like we got land.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know they got land, and but tell me what that first year looked like when 30 of you guys about came on the land and everything.
That first year was grueling. That first year was a heck of a test.
What made it so testing?
Because the sacrifice. Because it took a lot to get, it takes a lot of labor, I guess, to break ground, sometimes hard ground. And Pastor had the vision, and he was loving enough and graceful enough to share that vision with us, and we shared in that vision. But to bring this together was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of blood, a lot of tears. I remember working long hours at Walmart, 2 weeks, 180 hours. Was putting it down, go work 12, 14 hours. It was the strength of Yah that was there. Come home, we worked in Gallatin, come home, flop 2 hours, get back up, eat, then go back out there. And this was on a continual basis. And then we were given everything because we had hope in the vision. We knew this was right. We had to go this direction. We know we had to be set apart because, a pastor's vision, what the Most High Yah had put in him. And then by his words, what Most High Yah had put in him, it helped us to see that same vision and to actually support that vision.
So you guys a lot of people sacrificed to get there, but now you also had people. You described it well. Like there's always a purging.
Yes.
So when was the first purge from that first group? What caused the purge from your point of view?
It was many aspects. A lot of people couldn't live simple. Some people were offended about peeing in a bucket. I mean, what's wrong with peeing in a bucket? You would consider that as a test of humility or a test of pride or nothing. And a lot of people were offended because of the way of living, kind of rustic, the heat and everything was at that time, the long hours, come home sometimes. We would come home from long hours of work and then come and work on the land, digging holes and rocks, and it's just a lot of grueling labor to bring this vision about. And a lot of people just couldn't hack it. They couldn't hack the physical, requirements of it, and on top of that, the spiritual requirements of it.
What do you mean by the spiritual?
What was required of them. There was a lot of people that didn't want to depart from their ways. A lot of people loved the present evil world. The stuff that they were used to out there, loving so much and relying on. Now you're in a situation where that ain't there. That now some of you got a bed and you got a little room to live in, and that's all you got. Do you need more? Some people just couldn't hack that.
And during this time, you actually met your second wife. So you had 3 children with the first one. You met your second wife, and she was part of the ministry for like maybe a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Can you please share that, how you met her, and I think you were married for a while before. Please, I'll let you tell the story.
Well, she pretty much knew.
Was she part of that original group, by the way?
She came. She knew a brother Stair.
Okay.
And there was certain meetings that me and Pastor would go to that Stair was at, and she would be at some of them.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess through time, her parents come here and started fellowshipping and everything, and then they brought her along.
Okay.
And they asked, if she could stay here. And then, through the process of time, they left, and she was allowed to stay here because they had nowhere to go. And through,
she had children
benevolence.
too, right?
Yes, 3 children.
She had 3 children before you?
Yes.
Okay.
And through the benevolence of Pastor, he said, go ahead, they can stay here. And even the parents stayed here for a little bit, and even they caused certain problems because, people have certain ideas in their mind, the way they think certain things should be. I don't like the way this is being run. I don't like the way funds are being transmitted. I'm lacking this. I'm lacking that. You know, the usual human crap.
Nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new
under the sun. So you end up. So how did you guys come together? You just briefly. How did you guys eventually decide to get married, or are you asking?
I guess in passing we started talking. Within me already having lost a family, a wife and 3 children, and here's one coming in, a woman with 3 children. I thought, because of that emptiness, that this could fill the emptiness. So I just kind of tested it. I was still young, young in faith, wasn't. But I guess through time, us talking together, we had a mutual trust, mutual understanding, mutual goal in the faith.